everyone, Philip with Royal Range USA here in Nashville, Tennessee. Today we are taking a look at Glock's new offerings for 2019, the Glock 43x and the Glock 48, which I have on the table in front of me. So obviously got some other competitors laid out on the table. What we're going to do is do a quick overview of the guns, kind of compare them to some of the other single stack competitors in that world, look at some holsters that will fit the 43 and 48, and then we'll do some shooting. So let's get a quick rundown of the actual guns. You guys have probably seen some videos. They've been out for a little while here. We have the 43x and the 48. A couple of the guys and I were talking at the shop and kind of wondering, we thought it may be a little bit more clever if they did a 43, 43x, and maybe a 43XL instead of a 48. Not sure the rhyme or reason. I haven't heard of one behind Glock's numbering system, but we have the Glock 48. So it is what it is. Glock kind of does their own thing. But the major differences between the two guys, we'll go through them real quick, is the frames are pretty much the same. You're going to have a difference in the slide and barrel length. On the 43X, your barrel length is going to be 3.41 inch barrel. And then in a 48, it's going to be a 4.17 inch barrel. So just greater barrel length on the 48. Obviously, slide's going to be longer, and you do have one extra kind of serration here in the front for press checks and different manipulations. You also kind of carrying over some of the Gen 5 characteristics. You have a beveled front slide, which is going to help coming in and out of holsters a little bit quicker. But what is the reason for these two firearms? It's going to be your added capacity and your size. So it's kind of taking these magazines out. Obviously, you have a 10-round capacity in these new firearms. Now the magazine, I got a 43 here, and we'll take a look at that and kind of compare the magazines here. The 43 is a 6+1 magazine, and then the 43X and the 48 are now your 10-round capacities. So one of the things that is kind of a downside, if you want to think of it that way, is the fact that a 43 magazine does not fit a 43X or a 48. Now, obviously, you got to make a compromise, and the compromise that was made with these models is for the higher capacity, the 10 rounds, you have a little bit wider magazine, which gives you some of that extra capacity. So a little bit wider, as you can see, between the two magazines, and I threw this in here. This is a P365 10-round magazine. So it's not a true single stack in the sense that they don't line directly on top of each other. There is kind of a slight stack or cant, if you will, in the magazine for the 48 and 43X. So it is a little bit different, a little bit wider than the 43. So magazine and capacity is going to be the big thing. Now let's just kind of compare them. Let's see what the size looks like between some different models here. Obviously, the first one is going to be the 365, guys. 365 is still going to be a little bit shorter than the 43X and a little bit shorter barrel length and slide length. So it's still a little bit more compact. And I'll be the first one to say that when I first saw the 43X and the 48 on paper, I wasn't terribly impressed with the kind of the concept of it. It wasn't until I really got it in my hands that I felt the difference, and it feels really, really good in the hand. Your grip is obviously longer to accommodate the larger magazine in the 48 and 43X, and you get a full purchase. You get a full purchase on that gun. My 3 fingers fit here. I have medium to small size hands, and it fits really, really well in that 48. So, and the 43X. So one thing I will admit, and I'll say, it feels really good in the hand, and it shoots really, really well too. Both the 48 and the 43, that a little bit fuller feel in the hand makes a big difference. So let's just kind of run through some of these real quick. We have the 43, just your standard one. You guys have probably seen a size comparison of these already. Your frame is going to be a little bit longer. And then looking at your width, you have maybe a millimeter or more width in the 43 and the 48 here. So that's your 43. And then let's look at some of the other competitors. We have a Walther PPS. This one has their little red dot sight on it. Pretty cool little gun. Do a size comparison on that. Pretty similar. I'll put the magazine in to be fair. Put this guy here. There we are. Just trying to line these up. So that's your Walther PPS. Now the Shield is almost the exact same size. So really, if you guys have carried a Shield before, you're really not sacrificing anything. And again, on the 43X, you're getting a much higher capacity of 10 rounds compared to a 7 or 8 round magazine in the Shield. So that's certainly a benefit. Now, this is one of my actually kind of favorite guns, a 938. This is a really great single stack gun, really great trigger. Smaller, but much less capacity with a 6 and 7 round magazine compared to the 10. We'll throw in a XDS in here, get a little feel for that. And then so pretty comparable. There's not much of a change. And then lastly, we have a little EC9S. So those are your main comparisons with kind of your popular single stack guns. And then lastly, kind of an oddball here is throwing in a 19. Let's talk about the Glock 48 specifically right now. The Glock 48 is almost the exact same dimensions as a Glock 19 with the exception of its width. So you're going to have a smaller frame, a lot more compact. You're obviously going to have less capacity. The 19 is a 15 round magazine compared to a 10, so you're sacrificing 5 rounds with the 48 and the 19. But again, there is a big difference in the way that it feels and the way that it would carry, being a slimmer single stack gun, or a staggered stack if you want to call it that. So that's just kind of a quick rundown and comparison of the two. What we'll do next, guys, is we'll kind of clear the table, turn on the HVAC units, and get the range ready to shoot, and look at some holsters, and then we'll do some shooting, guys. So stand by, be back in a second. All right, guys, before we take a look at some holsters, I want to talk about the different models of the 43X and the 48. So each of the 43X and the 48 are going to have 3 different models. There's one with just the factory sights, which is kind of the standard factory sights, kind of a U-shaped or field goal rear sight, and a front sight here. It's going to come with, it's going to come in a Glock night sight, which are Glock factory night sights model, and then it's going to come with an Ameriglow bold sights. Both the Glock night sights and the Ameriglows are going to be obviously tritium sights. The slots and everything for your sights are the same, so if you already have a set by chance, or have another one that you like better than those, of course you can install those and have those on your sights. So just something else I wanted to mention. Now let's take a look at holsters. So the 43, let's talk about this one. The 43X is going to be pretty uniform right off the bat. Not going to be any major changes. This is a holster by a company called Green Force Tactical. It's got an Alti clip on it. It's a Kydex holster. And the 43X fits just fine in it. This is obviously kind of more of an appendix inside the waistband holster. So that one's just fine, even with the slightly larger width of the grip. It's minuscule enough to not really matter, and I would imagine everyone's going to come out with 43X specific holsters, but a standard 43 will work. A Blade Tech, this is a pretty popular one. Blade Tech Total Eclipse also fits and works well, so pretty simple there. This is a Safariland and ALS, so this is actually like level 2 outside the waistband. So if you have the inclination to carry it outside the waistband, this one will fit and work for you. Obviously, it has some retention on it. You can tighten it up, and then this little paddle here releases the gun. You can get that one out. And then lastly, these universal holsters, obviously they fit. This one fits well, but pick this one specifically for the 48. The 48 will fit this one. These can be useful if you want to carry it on your person inside the waistband. or in a vehicle in between a center console and seat. These are pretty useful as kind of catch-all type holster. Now, the reason obviously the 48 won't fit is because of the extra slide length. With the longer slide, it just won't fit. Now what you can do, and I've done this with some Glock 19 holsters to fit a 17, is truthfully guys, you could cut out, if you already have a bunch of 43 holsters and you just want to slap a 48 in there, you could kind of modify it yourself and cut out some of this Kydex. What would end up happening, of course, is your slide would kind of stick outside of the holster a little bit, which is not that big of a deal, but it's an option for you. Again, I imagine everyone's going to be coming out with 43X and 48 specific holsters, so give it some time and the aftermarket world will catch up and there's going to be all types of different stuff for this gun. So without further delay, let's do some shooting. We have everyone else on the range has eye and ear protection on. Let's shoot the 43X first and kind of get a feel for this. I've shot both of them, and I will admit I actually like the 48 a little bit longer with that little bit longer sight radius. It, for me, felt a little bit more comfortable and worked well. But let's try this out, shooting some steel here, so that's gonna be a good time. All right, first impressions. Got a little trigger jerk on that, didn't you? So it worked well, shoots good. One of the things, guys, with these 43Xs and 48s is reliability. So let's be honest, the 365 has had some issues, obviously some growing pains. We'll see how the 43X and 48 do. Obviously it's a new gun, but not much has changed between the 43 and the 43X and 48. So it's not necessarily a huge leap forward for Glock, but there's some consistency there. We know the 43 is a pretty tried and true platform, and it works well. So this is kind of what we're seeing. I expect that we're gonna see from the 43X and 48. So you can take a look at the steel real quick. Pretty good group, we're shooting around 10 yards, and we'll pattern a few more on that steel. Shoots pretty good. Now let's do, this one will shoot a little bit faster. All right, looking good. All right, so that's the 43X. Shoots good, no problems, of course. The triggers, I will not say are phenomenal. Kind of a standard 43 trigger. You're going to have, we'll kind of take a look at it here. Gun's clear. So the trigger is going to be your standard kind of Glock trigger. You have some take up. You have a little bit of push there and a little bit of kind of sponginess, if you will. But kind of a standard trigger. Very similar to the 43 and some of your larger ones. So, alrighty. 48, a little bit longer side, longer sight radius. You have those serrations up front, pretty nice. Go to some headshots, see how that does. Rocking the steel around. All right. Do another one here. Everything works well. Now I don't know why per se. But this one, the impulse feels honestly a little bit slower, maybe not as snappy as the 43. Obviously you have a little bit less reciprocating mass on the 43X, but this thing just feels smooth to me. The 48 shoots really well, similar size to the 19X, so some comfortability there, and I'm liking it. All right. I think I may have been riding a slide. I have a tendency to do that, ride that slide slot with my thumb. All right, let's pick up the pace, shoot a little bit faster here. Holding good groups, shooting well. Pretty controllable. The extra grip in my hand makes it feel very, very controllable. I like having that extra material there, and still a slimmer package. All right, let's shoot one more mag. Awesome. So, all in all, guys, Glock 43x and 48, new offerings from Glock in 2019. Pretty cool guns, a little bit slimmer. Everything's clear. A little bit slimmer, added capacity. An extra 10 rounds is a big benefit. I'm excited to see when Terran Tactical and the different companies start coming out with base plates. I haven't heard if Glock is going to have a factory 12-round magazine, like in a little extended, or we're going to rely on base plates from Terran Tactical and other companies that do those extensions. But we'll see. I think obviously it's going to add a little bit of length to the gun, or height to the gun on the grip. But having 12 rounds in a gun like this is going to be pretty awesome. So let us know what you think of the new 43, 40, and 43X and the 48. If you like them, if it's something that you're interested in buying, and just kind of your overall impression. So from Royal Range USA, guys, this is Philip. Appreciate you watching. If you like the content, please be sure to like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. It helps us out. We appreciate it. Be safe out there, guys. Thanks for watching.